Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed and we are back in the Sock and JC, fun for you and me, good for the whole family, dialogue in heaven. Free. So, excuse me, last time we reviewed the approximately 15 basic tenets of modern Christianity, and we discovered that none of that had anything to do with what Jesus was saying. That was all stuff that Paul added, and that has been a demonstration of one of the ways that human beings respond to new truth or new understanding. One of the ways is to pretend to speak for this new truth when really throw everything out and just populate it with your own previously held false beliefs. So Paul is an example of that. A wolf in sheep's clothing, which is interesting because most modern Christians, that's what they think Jesus was teaching, which is interesting. Considering how much people have been lied to in our society. We also have another way of responding to truth on the table, represented by the Kabbalah, where introduction of a new rational way of understanding the Parmenides was taken as a patch to patchwork up the old coat of previously held beliefs. So we're building that's the patchwork model of interpretation. And also that person in wolf in sheep's clothing claiming to speak for somebody in a common belief of our time. Christianity is one of the common belief structures or belief-based thinking modalities of our current age. Let me just change my lights. I want the blue color. Can I pick it? Yes. No? Yes. There we go. Green. Where do I have to point this thing? Oh, blue, purple. Oh, that's nice. Blue. Oh. No. Not sure where I'm supposed to be pointing this thing to work. Blue. No, this is the changing all of them. There we go. Red. Oh, that's cool. Green's nice. Oh, I like this one. I think I might go with this one. So, another example of wolf in sheep's clothing, human interpretation to truth is Aristotle. So the way that we learn philosophy currently at schools, the time of recording, 2025, is Aristotelian philosophy. Isn't that interesting? For those living at this time, watching it close to 2025, isn't it interesting that two such prevalent forces, a figurehead for belief-based thinking, Jesus, and a figurehead for understanding-based thinking, neither of them, we're actually listening to what they're saying. We're listening to some jabroni coming after them who is lying. Isn't that interesting? We don't study Socrates. We don't do real philosophy. We study Aristotle's opinions of Socrates, claiming to speak for philosophy while getting it completely wrong. So what we have, instead of actual understanding, we have a tradition of belief. So what's supposed to be the antidote to belief-based thinking, which causes human problems, understanding-based thinking or philosophy, is actually just another belief-based thinking. So we get these people who think they're learning philosophy, think they can learn to understand themselves, the mind, relationships, how to improve. But actually, most people who go into that and to study philosophy at university get very disheartened because they're not offered any of that. They're offered, well, horse shit. They're offered a plate of boring ass beliefs. Here's Kant's beliefs and Hegel's beliefs, and we don't actually read Plato. We read interpreters of Plato. So some strange man's beliefs about Plato, or beliefs. Which is why we have debates. Debates is just how can you manipulate people through words to justify your belief, which is terrible, but it's the way a lot of human beings live. They think life's about, hey, there's no truth, it's all about belief. You just manipulate people's belief, and that's how you make money. That's how you get into power. That's how you scam chicks to get them into your bedroom. Using words to manipulate through belief. Debate. The opposite of philosophy, which is having power with people mutually together to move from belief to understanding, to evolve, to free ourselves from problems, and to discover the truth of self, reality, and the meaning of life. Why we are here. So, Aristotle is to Socrates as Paul is to Jesus. The current spokesman for philosophy or for Christianity, while actually saying the exact opposite. Isn't that interesting? We are living in the age of backwards, opposite world, bizarro land. Isn't that interesting? And we see that. We know that we demand understanding from all professions except for the ones that are most important. We demand understanding from surgeons and pilots and so on. But the most important professions in the world, those who speak for the soul, spiritual leaders, and those who organize or lead our whole society, political leaders, those people are allowed to get away with debate, beliefs, using words to lie. Everyone knows politicians lie. Why have we not made laws against that? Everyone knows religious people lie to their followers. Not your religion, but all the other ones, because they're all wrong and manipulative and treat women badly and don't like gay people and so on and so on. I'm joking, of course, it's everyone, but it's difficult to see when it comes to our own. But if you have integrity, you have to realize, well, shit, it can't be the other 5,000 beliefs, religions out there, and not mine. That would be very baby-brained of me to just presume that I happen to be born into the right family. And of course, you don't have to presume. Understanding is for everyone. That's why we're here. Philodionoia. To master the art of the love of understanding, to develop a paradigm of understanding we can insist upon for all political and spiritual leaders, the logos, the dialectic, and embody that as a way of being that we can share with the world so they can, hey, you don't have to be a Christian to talk about what you love or talk about the meaning of life. You don't have to be a MAGA to talk about what you're most concerned about. You don't have to be a Nazi to finally stand up and say, I'm sick of being oppressed by the system. I want to beat up someone. No. These are all ways of being offered by people who are trying to enslave and get us to work against our own interests. We need to offer a way of being based on truth and understanding. And demand it for anyone in leadership positions. That way of being we call Philodionoia, the love of understanding. So, if this is for everyone, because this is our evolution, our next stage of evolution isn't evolving wings in a million years or something. It's evolving cognitively. We're better than the other animals, not because we, have the most fingers and toes. It's not a phalanges issue, because there are some monkeys who have little fingers, and lemurs. And there are some animals like birds that have wings, and we don't have wings. So why are we the most evolved? Cognition. We have evolved into the ability to participate in intelligence itself. What is that intelligence? Oh, it's called the divine light of pure being. It's the light of intelligibility, or mind. Not your mind and my mind and Fred's mind and Jim's mind. No, mind itself. Existing eternally outside of the physical dimension, because the mind doesn't have shape. It's not you never see, there's mind going to the shop. How are you today, mind? Good, thanks. I'm just off to buy some cigarettes. No, it's not a physical thing. It exists in the realm of being. Meaning it's always there, and it's always capable to be experienced to all minds, all individual minds who are open to it. Intelligence itself. The greater we can participate in it, and the longer we can endure that experience, the more intelligent we get, because the shadow of that experience is understanding. That's what Socrates and Jesus have been talking about, because they have both had that experience. And they're talking about the need to endure it to become intelligent. So that's what distinguishes us from the animals as more evolved. The only problem is understanding and intelligence, or directly experiencing that nous, or knowledge, or wisdom, has its shadow. Human beings can cosplay as someone who is wise. Parents pretend to know what's going on. Clergy and kings pretend to know the nature of the divine. Imitations that they insist others not understand and experience themselves, but blindly believe. So evolution is to go from that image thinking, imitation of ignorance and cruelty, belief-based thinking, into participating properly in intelligence through understanding. That's our evolution. And as understanding, if belief-based thinking causes human problems, and specifically a class of belief we are identified with, that we fight violently to hold on to, even when evidence and reason shows us we're wrong. Cruel, savage ignorance, caveman thinking, barbarianism, a class of belief called pathologos. If that's the cause of problems, how do we remove it? Understanding it. That's the art of philosophical midwifery. The application of understanding, the application of the logos, the application of the structure of the logos, dialectic, to identifying and removing the root cause of our problems. That's philosophical midwifery, making philosophical midwifery a necessary activity for every single human being, as every single human being gets a pathologos. And therefore, the most important art to master is that. The art of understanding applied to removing problems. Now we can keep going and saying, hey, once we're free of problems, what next? Well, now you've got some understanding in your back pocket. You're more evolved. You're thinking in a new way. You're free of the problems that were causing your sickness and illness and catastrophes in life. Well, now you can use that understanding to find the truth about those things that you were imitating shadows of. What is real love? What is real wisdom? What is the real purpose that you have here? How can we find the answer to all of those questions through understanding and verify our understanding in direct experience of pure being? Understanding and nous, or understanding and knowledge, or wisdom. That's philosophy, the love of wisdom. The true love we awaken once we're free of the false, ignorant loves. The love of understanding and direct experience of being. The love of wisdom. Philosophy. Now, some people will say, actually, if it's the use of understanding to midwife others through the dialectic to remove beliefs, couldn't the philosopher or the dialectician just be the next stage in philosophical midwifery? Just a higher aspect of midwifery? To guide people freed from what's false to then develop understanding of the truth. You could make that claim. So we could say midwifery is the single art way of being, or we could say, well, yeah, midwifery and philosophy kind of go together. And the dialectic can also be applied to see the meaning of our dreams, dream analysis, and the fourth aspect, philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and hey, why not share this? Because that's one of the things Socrates and Jesus has been talking about. Maybe we let drop the ball because we left it for others to pass on our teachings, and that might have been too tall of an ask because it might be too rare and too difficult for most human beings to endure the light of pure being to really understand what we're saying. Not only that, the allure, the blinding ignorance of our false beliefs are too powerful for most human beings, such that they will retreat back into their ignorance and false beliefs. So given that people have that tremendous power against their understanding, false beliefs, and the experience of pure being is so intense that few might be able to endure it, we should have ourselves written stuff down. Rounding out the full understanding of Philodionoia, not the love of wisdom, but the love of understanding, philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and writing stuff down and sharing it, mythology, giving us 4 aspects to the new way of being based on the true paradigm or model of understanding, the dialectic, giving us a clear definition for the purpose and meaning of all human beings, and potentially all sentient beings who have evolved to the ability to have language and self-reflection, logos and ousia. So not just the meaning of my life or Socrates' life or your life, but all life. The meaning of life. Now the difficulty with sharing that is, well, what we just talked about. Unless people have sufficiently gone through enough midwifery to be free of their pathologos, they are going to want to save or be a Gestapo policeman for their beliefs from their family, clan way of being, just like cavemen, because that's part of our evolution. So we might say this is the meaning of life. It's for everyone. It's what will heal the world, heal souls and the world and families, and use that healthy soul, family, and world to move therefore into excellence, our highest states of excellence. We could say that, but people are not going to like it because of their beliefs, unless they've actually been doing it with some integrity and patience and courage, the virtues. So Jesus might have been saying that, but that's not what we're taught. We're taught the exact opposite. Paul claims to speak for Jesus as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Equally so, Aristotle claims to speak for philosophy as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Aristotle didn't have any of those things. Didn't have philosophy, didn't study being. No midwifery, no dream analysis, no mythology. Materialism, modernism, looking at the physical world. So, we better apply ourselves to really nailing down what are the various different ways human beings can respond to truth and understanding. So we can anticipate Paul's and Aristotle's out there. But there are also people like Mark. The Gospel of Mark recognized what Paul was doing and tried to give a different account, a better account of what Jesus was saying, emphasizing the role of emphasizing the role of understanding and not belief. Loving through understanding, seeing your neighbor as oneself because of understanding, helping all through understanding, and awakening a state of mind, the kingdom of God that Jesus talks about in the conversation with the scribe as a state of mind through understanding. And then, of course, the Gospel of John saw Mark trying to tell the truth, saw Paul doing crazy batshit stuff, and tried to save Paul by mixing the two together. That's what we've been reading so far. We've got those 15 tenets from Paul that we can recognize as modern Christianity. So, the opposite. And we have two different ideas of love within Christianity. One based on understanding, loving the divine, recognizing the oneself through understanding, the words of Jesus as described by Mark. And then we have Paul's horrible, disgusting idea of love, child sacrifice, preventing people from learning, preventing people from addressing the cause of their problems, just to murder some child. That's love. Oh, and also other actions of love towards people is just charity. Really gross. But that's what we have. And now the question is, what's the understanding tradition's idea of love? What was Socrates saying about love? Last time, Socrates talked about how you get that from the Phaedrus and the Symposium. In the Symposium, which we've just started to read on this channel, you can be led through love of different levels of beauty. Beauty of the bodies, beauty of one body, then beauty of many bodies, then recognizing that all bodies are caused, or the cause of the beauty of all bodies is the same thing. But once you, that's where people start, right? Even the dumbest person in the world can recognize a hot chick. But then you have to see, oh, actually there's two hot chicks. Actually, maybe the beauty of physical bodies is the same. So that's love at the first level. But at each level of love, Socrates says you have to add to it logos, add to it understanding. So give beautiful speeches, words about the person that the physical person that you're loving. After you've progressed from one to many to all beautiful bodies, the next level of beauty you can be led to perceive is the beauty of souls. We we might even, not said in the text, but we could hypothesize. I wonder if those 1, 2, 3 levels are going to be present in the beauty of souls as well. I wonder if that reflects the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 12 stages of the dialectic in philosophical midwifery that we've been learning. That would be neat. So level 2 is beauty of souls. Met someone with a beautiful soul? Did they radiate beauty in a strange way? A more interesting way? A more attractive way? A more curious way? A way that other people might not see straight away? And people who are not developing themselves through understanding might look at and be confused because they might recognize some of that glow of a beautiful soul, but not understand it because it's not a physical hot chick, bro. Her pubes are not big enough, bro. But she's so hot, bro. But she's mid, bro. So, can be confusing for people who are not going through what they're supposed to be doing here. Symposium. Development. But after you're able to see beauty in the soul, can you also add words to it, add logos to it? Not making beautiful speeches, but sharing beautiful words as best you can with your beloved in a way that might improve them, help them learn and develop. Now, that's the first few stages of the symposium. Level of development through love. But Socrates said last time, hey, by the way, each of those stages of development of love first, and then understanding onto it to develop improvement or further excellence, matches each of the 4 stages of cognitive development. Philosophical, not pathologos ignorance, you better be doing midwifery as well. We all should be. But not that kind of ignorance, but philosophical ignorance where you come to realize you don't know what you once thought you knew. And you're open to learning now. Your cup is empty, and there's a spoon in my coffee cup. I don't want a spoon. Philosophical ignorance. And then the development of right opinions, which is why we read the symposium, which is why we read the Balboa translation of the symposium with the actual Greek, not someone else's interpretation, and not one of those other rubbish translators like Jowett. Philosophical ignorance, openness, or being stung like a stingray. Right opinion through our reading. And then organizing our right opinion according to a structure and paradigm we call the dialectic, understanding. And then understanding leads us to that brilliant light of pure being, or the experience of not a beautiful body, not a beautiful self, but beauty, not a beautiful soul, but beauty itself. Wow. One of the eidos or aspects, not forms. The word eidos has been mistranslated by Jowett as forms. So you might have heard of Plato's forms. It's not forms. The word is eidos, which means aspects that you can behold of being, one of which is beauty itself. But as we've been learning, it's not just the love of beauty and the experience of that beautiful thing that you love, but you have to then go on and apply understanding, logos, to it to develop the excellence from it. Only there, Socrates says, from that experience of reality itself, truth, it's from that where you can develop true excellence, or the highest excellence. So, Understanding is needed at every step, and understanding is needed from our guide. Thankfully, we have Diotima as our guide, who was also Socrates' guide. That's the symposium. So we're ticking that box, having a guide who's gone through it herself and has understanding of every step. We need love to be motivated to seek beauty. But again, we need understanding to develop an excellence from it. So understanding all the way coupled with love is a way of understanding our human development, our cognitive development through each of those stages: stung, right opinion, understanding, knowledge or wisdom. And therefore, as Pierre wrote on the board in front of the kids in his philosophy class that I was watching with delight, the meaning of life. Love and understanding together. Isn't that neat? I think it's neat. I don't care what you say, I think it's pretty cool. And if you're watching this channel, you probably think it's neat too. So hooray. That's where we are. Let's jump in and keep reading.
We're gonna engage in dishonesty?
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Come on. Don't spank each other's soundboard. Let's go. Okay, we've already reviewed Jesus' two ideas. Mark emphasizing the role of understanding and not belief. To love God with all of your... To see everything as God. God is everywhere. God is one, but there is nothing other than He. So God is all. So everything that you will perceive in reality is divine mind and can be experienced as a oneness. It says here God is not only one, but if it's everything, we could call it a oneness. And you can love that with all of your heart, soul, mind, strength, and as the scribe added, understanding. And then the next commandment from Jesus was to love one's neighbor as oneself. So we might recognize the role of the first and second hypothesis in the thinking of the scribe and Jesus' conversation. Very different from Paul's terrible garbage. And Paul went on to say, Jesus said, the scribe noticed that I left out the role of understanding in the love of God, and that was an important omission. And Jesus said that the scribe's answer was better than his. Socrates says that's right. The idea of understanding is seeing a kinship between the logos and nous. Understandability and that experience of the divine light of pure intelligence. The realm of being. Mark often cites the need to understand rather than believe. Let's make that green. There's Paul, crazy murderous Paul. Does he think the same thing? No, Paul said that God showed his love by sacrificing his son. And we got some spam. Let's ban that guy. And delete this. Loving thy neighbor isn't to do with understanding the oneself and recognizing it in all people, but it's an act of charity. And Mark never said that Jesus was God's only son. So the whole idea of murdering people as a good thing, which Paul loved to do because he stoned to death many of Jesus's followers, was just something that Paul made up. So the idea of human sacrifice in the death of Jesus was just Paul. Mark never said that Jesus said that he was God's only son. That's Paul's garbage. So, by the way, the idea of forgiveness, again, lacking understanding. Socrates says, well, hang on a second. Have you learned anything if you don't reflect through understanding to the origin of your problem? Is it wise to lift away what needs to be recognized and learnt from through just forgiveness, through human sacrifice? And then, so now that we've got the two ideas of love, what does Socrates think love is? Based on an understanding-based tradition. There is different roles of the lover, the beloved, and the act of loving. There is a creativity of love that brings forth a creation. There is an intimate connection between logos and love. We reviewed that just a minute ago. Each love brings you to a higher experience of beauty, guided by logos, guided by understanding, but then logos have to be applied on it again. So logos up, and then logos on, and then logos up again. Reason and love go together. The two ideas are linked to the idea of midwifery, giving birth to babies. Ideas. Love's domain fits that mean between the immortal and the mortal, between gods and men, between wisdom and ignorance. And we talked about last time, we seem to be getting this. A whole bunch of mean analogies. We've been talking about how so far on the channel in our reading, we've been learning that the purpose or the meaning of life, or our evolutionary purpose, is to move from belief-based thinking to understanding-based thinking. And that way of being we call Philodionoia. A new way of being. Don't need MAGA way of being. Don't need ICE and Nazi way of being. You have this way of being. Allows us to have groups, allows us to connect, it allows us to explore ideas, allows us to express ourselves, but in the best way. Philodionoia. A new way of being for the new age of man. So also between two extremes is nature, the physical world, and the intelligible world, the world of being. Another two extremes, the mortal and the immortal, because the world of being is immortal, eternal. Ignorance, the cause of man's problems, and wisdom, where we can end up if we go through this process. And the man and the gods representing those states of being. And love functions as the guide or the transitional aspect between those two things, which is interesting because that's where we are. We are stuck between the two extremes. Like Socrates said, well, Jesus and Socrates said, the problem or the condition of man is that we are stuck between the two extremes, the natural world and the intelligible world. Our evolution from cavemen to the goal of our evolution, enlightened beings. But also meeting us in the middle is love. So we're not alone in the middle of our extremes. We have love on our side. And each of the levels of love and make sure that good. Each of the levels of love match the cognitive functions of ignorance, right opinion, understanding, and knowledge or wisdom. There's our evolution. Our cognitive evolution plays alongside levels of love. Isn't that neat? So philosophy and our purpose here to evolve isn't a dusty old dry ivory tower, dusty old man reading a dusty old philosophy book. I've read this old philosophy book from Parmenides. Look at the logic and reasoning. It's a good academic exercise. Nope. It's fun, it's alive, it's loving. It's actually the best game in town.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
You're a wizard, Harry. He said, hang on a second, how can ignorance be a stage of development? Isn't ignorance bad? No, different kind of ignorance, where you've been brought to see that you're wrong and you have to admit that you don't know, that you know nothing about what they thought they knew. That's a state of being puzzled as puzzled can be, as if being stung by a stingray. Isn't that neat? How does your Plato bring logos and love into a unity? Asks JC. Well, here's something you can see. Hey, by the way, even the dum-dums love to be famous, loves to get those Instagram clicks, or loves to be on the Nelk Boys podcast, or the Joe Rogan podcast, and gets all those tasty Instagram likes. People love fame, don't they? But also, hey, you know what people love? They love making love to beautiful bodies and giving birth to lots of babies. But actually, haven't you seen that there are people, artisans and craftsmen, who actually love giving birth in a different way, but they still love their art, don't they? And even better than that, haven't you noticed that the best of us, the best people out there, are seeking to bring justice within their family and within the state or the world? Bring justice within their family and the world? Let's go one step further. Of that class of person, are there some that take the next step, what Plato calls the step from loving learning to loving philosophy, loving wisdom, philosmethesis, love of learning, to philosophia, love of wisdom, when they're realizing the cause, the paradigm, the model of that justice that they are trying to bring to their family, their loved ones, their relationships, and the world. Its existence is in being. So they love that experience and understanding of pure justice. That's wisdom. Therefore, love of wisdom. Therefore, philosophia, philosophy. So now we've got not Aristotle's dumb idea of philosophy that we get from school, loving opinions, and we talk like this.
Have you read Brand at all? Have you read Nagel? What about Scanlon? Have you read Scanlon or Scruton or Edmund Burke? Have you read C.S. Lewis? Have you read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Have you read Immanuel Kant? So you know Fleek.
What has this got to do with Bob's Burgers?
Do you practice self-love in a Kantian sense? Do you masturbate to Kant? Have you seen Infinity War? Have you ever seen Age of Ultron?
That conversation. That's the essence of all philosophical debates. Currently, in the Aristotelian tradition. Notice there's no wisdom there. They're not talking about the aspect of being called justice. They're not talking about being itself. Therefore, by definition, it's not philosophy. So the highest among those are those seeking justice and wisdom, capital J. And they are driven by a love to participate in the realm of the sacred. And if you want to read about that, join the Awakening Philosophy podcast channel on Twitch and YouTube and Discord, because they are reading the symposium.
I find that very entertaining.
Okay, then he reviews what we've let's jump in. How far? Yeah, let's jump in here. So that's where we are. Let's jump in from here. Bring in our characters. There they are. Socrates' voice. In his symposium, Plato starts with the idea with love expressing itself in the love of beautiful bodies. and in beautiful logos or speeches. See, beautiful bodies first. Any numbnuts can see beautiful chickies. But hey, you have to add logos to it. You're gonna have to say more than, oh, sweet boobs. No, say more than that. Make beautiful logos, beautiful speeches. Then he adds that it is necessary to see that the beauty in all bodies is the same. Oh, from the many to the one. And to go on to love those who have a beautiful souls. And once again to beget beautiful logos so that the young can find in love something noble and good. Benefit the soul of your beloved. He goes on to urge the love of beauty in our cities and customs so that one can see a wider scope for love in the quest for beauty. In these early stages lead to seeing beauty in different kinds of knowledge. How many people on this channel really appreciate and see the love in the beauty of philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology? Different kinds of knowledge, different applications of the dialectic. Surely we know that this kind of knowledge shines forth from the very source of love and the logos. For it is this that prepares the soul for the final vision of beauty itself.
Well, you're doing your best.
We're gonna engage in dishonest. That's weird that you think that.
Speaking of balance, I can't have all of my soundboard things on one button. So I want a positive reaction from my soundboard people. But then sometimes it's a negative one. I really need to take a day and update my sound drops. It's been so long since I got the original ones. What's today? Monday. Maybe. So, for this, what is it? Seeing the love in different kinds of knowledge prepares the soul for the final vision of beauty itself. The experience of beauty opens the mind to the profound, for it alone can experience it. Mind alone, not your eyes or your ears. Mind. The experience is described with carefully chosen superlatives balanced by negatives. So that's where we're heading in the symposium. There's a description given of this experience of pure beauty, which is curious because it's got a bunch of the highest words, but it's balanced by a bunch of negatives. It's not this, it's not that, it's not this. It is this, but it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. That's a puzzle that we're going to get to. The experience of beauty unfolds the nature of reality as truth. It is from this state that a true excellence can emerge. It is the crowning experience of the philosopher, brought into being by love and perfected by logos. Hooray!
You've been a bad little girl. I've been a bad girl.
There's no rhyme or reason to my button presses if they're just random. I have a random grid. I just press a button and it randomly picks one, so I don't know what's going to play. So, I wanted to emphasize that, which is why I pressed the random buttons, that The crowning experience of the philosopher is brought into being by love and then perfected by logos. So the question Jesus asked was, how does Plato bring together love and logos? That's it. And also at every stage, loving a beautiful body, perfect it by making beautiful speeches. Love a beautiful soul, perfect the soul by sharing words that can help that soul improve and learn and grow and benefit. Brought into being by love, perfected by logos. Isn't that neat? Isn't that neat? Love and understanding. In one sentence. The crowning experience of the philosopher is brought into being by love and perfected by understanding or logos. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Guys. Now we're up to here. Jesus, is there more I should hear that describes the teacher and student relationship than these steps or stages? If the teacher finds a soul that is open, generous, and dedicated to the pursuit of philosophy, Plato says that he welcomes the two together, body and soul, and cultivates the relationship through talks about excellence, and shares with his student what a good man ought to do and be. As a result of what they share, the student gives birth to what can be said to rival Homer and Hesiod. Calling our shots earlier. Earlier we were talking about how in the Phaedrus, Socrates warns, hey, maybe if you come across such a beautiful soul and you want to, and you've seen someone open, generous, and dedicated to the pursuit of understanding and development, you probably would want to welcome that person, body and soul. Don't go around making big speeches to everyone about how hot they are, because all the dum-dums will hear it, and if you're that sort of person, your words might be pretty convincing. Then you'll have all these other idiots, all of a sudden, rivals for your beloved. Instead, talk about the things that they can achieve, or the possible consequences of the kind of love that you want with them. In other words, not giving birth to children, but giving birth to works. Works that will last 1,000 years in mankind. That men can reflect on, talk about, benefit from for 1,000 years. Works which will themselves rival the works of Homer and Hesiod. So we talked about that from the Phaedrus. I talked about how that's something I've always wondered about for a long time. And here he is talking, dropping that quote in. So teacher and student, open, find it open, generous, let's make it green. Generous, dedicated to the pursuit of philosophy. You welcome them body and soul. You cultivate the relationship through talks about excellence. And you share with the student what a good person ought to be, do, and say. The the student, and then that student will be able to give birth to works that can be said to rival Homer and Hesiod. Isn't that neat? What a lovely relationship that sounds like. And we want all people to find a relationship like that because, hey, let's get a bunch of those works. Jesus comes in. Now, Socrates, are you saying that Plato realized that his work would continue and rival the divinely inspired works of Homer and Hesiod? Surely that is granting it a very high honor. You are right to ask that, Jesus, and the answer is that Plato says it ranks higher than even those who established the first rational laws, and even beyond the works of both the Hellenes and the barbarians. Hellenes, the Hellenics, the people who love understanding, and the barbarians, the people who are non-understanding based, belief based, tribal. Inside cave good, outside cave bad. You either like invading Iraq or you hate the troops. You're either MAGA or you're going to concentration camps. You're either a Israeli Jew or you're going to get genocided. You're either a Nazi who loves Hitler or you go to the concentration camps. Us versus them. Binary thinking, belief-based thinking, barbarians. It's interesting because it was one of the first insights of Pierre Grimes, who rediscovered philosophical midwifery, was when he was fighting the Nazis in World War II, realized he was walking down the same Roman road to fight back the barbarian Nazi hordes that the Romans walked down hundreds of years ago, fighting off their barbarians. And he came to the realization,
no one seems to be learning or growing or addressing actual problems.
And then he discovered the way of addressing problems. So we're very, very lucky that such a soul existed. Jesus. I wonder if I should say, good heavens, Socrates, what a splendid vision you describe. Oh, and by the way, this is, so yeah, the symposium. How long has it been? It's been around for what? Almost 2,500 years? 2,000 years or so? Close? 2,500? It's still the handbook. The Symposium, the Republic, the Ion, the Meno, the Phaedo that we've just been reading. These are all Plato's works. Absolutely essential to read in 2025. Thousands of years after it was written. Rivaling... How long did Homer and Hesiod's works last? I don't know. Although we do see midwifery and dream analysis in Homer, so... But isn't that neat? We have this handbook of the meaning of life through the union of love and understanding, guiding us through our cognitive evolution, our cognitive development, to the highest vision of reality and truth, from which we develop, from which the highest excellence of humankind can emerge. A book written 2,500 years ago. Isn't that great? Now it's been buried by the Christians following the tradition of Paul, who liked to murder people who understood and not believed, and burnt the libraries and killed the philosophers and shut down the academy. And so beginning the Dark Ages, we are only now just emerging out of. Thankfully, with the Balboa translation, we can actually read it for the first time in a long time. But it's there, from which we can emerge from our Dark Ages of Aristotle and the Roman tradition of ignorance, and find a new way of being that will characterize a way all humans can participate in, a way of being of the new age. Hooray!
I'm too pure.
Emma is too pure for anything else. I wonder if I should say, good heavens, Socrates, what a splendid vision you describe. Awakening, oh, that's the name of the channel, Awakening Philosophy. Hooray! Always fun when we read the name of the channel. Like when you go and watch the Transformers movie at the cinemas, and then Optimus Prime says, we have to teach the Decepticons that we are, and then he looks at the camera, the Transformers, and everyone in the crowd goes, hooray! Or when you're watching Die Hard, and then John Die Hard turns to the camera, we have to shoot the bad guys or die hard. And everyone goes, we have the exact same reaction here on this channel when we hear him talking about awakening philosophy. Awakening this profound idea of understanding is to prepare one for the noetic vision of reality. Now, can there be more to that from the other work, the one you called the Phaedrus? That's what we're doing. Awakening the profound idea of understanding to prepare for the noetic vision of reality. Awakening philosophy. What about the Phaedrus, says Jesus. Socrates comes in. Yes, the way of the lover should approach. Stay a while and listen. Stay a while and listen. Sounding a bit Sean Connery there. The way of the lover should approach true beauty and join her in sacred union. The way the lover should approach true beauty with a capital B and join her in sacred union is given an artful form in this dialogue. The idea is simple enough. He presents it in terms that can make it vivid and vital. If the desire for the beloved is joined with the need to preserve and cultivate a meaningful relationship, then the manner of this courtship must be gentle, must be sincere, and must include an understanding of the beloved. So, desire for the beloved, number one. Need to preserve and cultivate a meaningful relationship. Then the courtship, gentle, sincere. I think I said serene a moment ago. Gentle, sincere, and include an understanding of the beloved. The opposite way ruins it. The difficulty in achieving this goal is that the soul of man combines nobility and fairness with powerful emotional drives that want instant gratification. So we have a soul. The difficulty of this kind of courtship is that we have nobility and fairness, which is good, right? And we have powerful hang on. Okay, so since gentle, sincere, understanding, of course, and the difficulty is that the soul combines nobility and fairness. We have that. But we also have powerful emotional drives that want instant gratification. Yep. We want to bite the face of the beloved and bite everything else straight away. With the struggle between these two With the struggle between these two forces, reason is forced to control one's desire and subdue the other. If it is successful in this struggle, it gains the beloved. If not, it faces failure and shame. Control one desire, I guess that's the desire for the beloved, and subdue that emotional drive that wants instant gratification. The image he presents in this struggle, and let's highlight that too. Reason in charge, guiding our desire for nobility and fairness in our union with the beloved. Preserved union, meaningful relationship, courted in a gentle, sincere way through understanding. And subdue our emotional urge that want gratification. Okay? The image he and if you are successful, you gain the beloved. If you don't, you have failure and shame. Boo. The image he presents of this struggle is the charioteer, trying to manage the conflicting desires of his two powerful horses. The plot of the drama focuses on the struggle for spiritual enlightenment. This always occurs because there is no beloved more beautiful or more real than the experience of true enlightenment. If the approach to the beloved is as a rash lover, all is lost. The difference between the struggle of those seeking earthly beauty and those seeking the magnificent divine beauty is as vast as can be imagined. All right, those seeking true justice and true beauty in the eternal experience of pure being, knowing reality, knowing the truth. Different than people who want to, I want to rub my face in her boobs. That sort of a person. As vast as can be imagined. As Plato puts it, if the human eyes could be brought to see and behold divine beauty, a terrible love would be aroused that would be uncontrollable. Applying our physical eyes to see pure beauty that can only be experienced by mind itself. We would go crazy for love. Thus the way to the divine is the way of the very passionate lover. The way to the divine is the way. The way to the divine, says Socrates, is the way the very passionate lover must learn to cultivate and gain the beloved. Truly, it is a very beautifully told story that is as profound as it is true. Cultivate and gain the beloved. Interesting. Sounds like that second level of soul as well. Share beautiful logos that can cultivate and help the growth of the beloved. But the highest beloved is the most beautiful and real experience of the true enlightenment, of the crowning achievement of philosophy, the experience of pure being. So it's us, I suppose, who are being cultivated. I suppose that's fair and noble. To be united with pure beauty and pure justice by becoming most beautiful and just yourself as a soul. Interesting. That's my coffee. Jesus comes in. I see there is a depth behind these remarks of yours, Socrates. This idea of love gives me much to reflect upon. You grasp the very dynamics of loving beautifully. So in loving one's beloved, one learns the way to the divine. Imagine that. Imagine being in that kind of a loving relationship. Whereas your understanding and development of how to cultivate your own loving relationship is itself the spiritual pathway to the highest excellence, to enlightenment itself, to recognize yourself as the mind of the God. And from that experience to go beyond that, to develop a higher excellence that transcends even reality, transcends even truth. Sound like fun? Better than just going to the movies. I'm gonna take you to the movies, baby. I love that song. I love going to the movies. I especially love it because I'm a musician and I love the immersive sound system. And some of the film scorers are the greatest musicians that there are. And so I like going to the movies. But here we're talking about a beyond that. Beyond what? Beyond this.
Yeah, your boy Banks. And this track,
I wonder if I'm going to get copyright blocked from...
dedicated to all the ladies out there who like to go to the movies, you know, especially you, girl. Let me take you to the movie, shorty. I'm sure later on you will be my baby.
That song. A cool song. I want to take you to the movies, baby. Nonsense. Get back to reading.
He better not.
That's where you live, in the weirdo pool. You're going around doing that in the weirdo pool. That's you.
Well, he's right for the first time. He says Jesus. So in loving one's beloved, one learns the way to the divine. What a fantastic sentence. The difference between the mortal and the immortal are the extremes that you reconcile in the mean. Learning the nature of the meaning of differences, it creates the condition for a higher union. Learning the nature of the meaning of differences. What does that mean? Why do we have differences? Simply to reconcile them anyway. Can you say more about this, Sock? And Sock says, yes, the mystery of love is not in loving sameness, for it is learning the meaning of difference that a true loving is achieved. Yes, that is true. Here you present the mystery of the extremes, and with them I suspect you will find the meaning of the mean. Yeah, the mystery of the extremes and the meaning of the mean. That's a big theme that we have been wondering about on this channel for the last couple of years, or however long we've been going. Why is it that humans are the worst? We have the extreme brutality, genocide, billionaire existence, wealth inequality, capitalism, fascism, MAGAism, Nazism. Why are we the absolute fucking worst to ourselves and each other? And yet, how is it that we can have people like Pierre Grimes and Socrates? We have the potential to reach the fulfillment of our highest purpose or destiny and the greatest excellence, freeing us from the chains of suffering and problems, and also liberating us from the prison of reincarnation. The double-edged sword of being a human being. We absolutely suck, but we can be absolutely brilliant. What's the mystery of the extremes, and how can we look at that and find the meaning of being the mean? And I suppose that's what we were speculating on last time when we were asking what next. If we were able to bridge the gap between these extremes, go from being the worst animals possible in the universe to the best animals possible through Philodionoia, would there be a role for humanity within a greater universe? Would that be the meaning of participating as the mean through those extremes? Thumbs up, says the computer. Could we be a leader, a guide, a benefit to all developing beings within the universe? And maybe beyond? The mystery of human beings being the mean between the extremes. Isn't that interesting? Oh, I think it's pretty interesting. Experimenting with voices today. I see you are saying the same thing for the extremes as you would for poverty and wealth or poverty and progress. Huh? Oh. I like poverty and progress. Because we don't want wealth inequality. We don't want billionaires. We want everyone to be equal. Then we could all be wealthy. But not wealthy in having more obscene wealth. I'm a musician and it's very hard to find people with money out there. Because all the billionaires have it all. All the restaurants are closing down. All the nightclubs are closing down. No one has money. No one can afford to live anymore. Why? Well, if all the billionaires have all the money, they can only have one meal a night. But if we all have the money, that's millions of meals. Same money, but restaurants can survive now. But if one person has all the money, well, he can only eat one meal a night. That's the insanity of there being wealth inequality and the existence of millionaires and billionaires. It's barbaric. Yes. And the idea of finding the harmony in a world of extremes, like we're just talking about with sharing all the money because it doesn't belong to one person, it's society's water. You wouldn't have one animal setting up a dam to take all of the animal's water into his own house and drink all the water. That dam would go stagnant and all the other animals would die. Human beings have to wake up to the fact that they need money like water in this world currently. Therefore, it should be shared and not owned. Tax wealth, not work, and establish a universal basic income. Outlaw the existence of wealth inequality through the existence of billionaires, which will also remove the savagery and the other many, many problems that happen as a result. Oh, that's not there. Forget all that stuff. I'm adding it. The idea of finding harmony in the world of extremes is the very goal of our intelligible cosmos. So that would be an example of a human goal, to recognize those things we just mentioned. Harmony in a world of extremes. Isn't that interesting? How do we harmonize in a world of extremes? Jesus. There can be little doubt that Plato's idea of love and logos far excels Paul and his followers. But Jesus is saying there is no doubt that, little doubt, Plato's idea of logos and love far excels the terrible human sacrifice, act of charity bullshit of Paul and modern Christianity. We're not going to blame them. They have been lied to for generations to be Paulines and not followers of Jesus. Just as philosophers who go to college are Aristotelian, not philosophers. Whoops. So it is certain, it is a certainty, said Socrates, that we shall say that Paul is as ignorant of the loftiness of your teachings as he is of your philosophy. Conclusion. Certainly, Paul is ignorant of the loftiness of Jesus' teachings that we get a better account of in Mark, as he is of your philosophy. Modern Christians need to read this book. He substitutes his own limited theology for yours, and then he is a denier of what you put forward. So, substitutes wolf in sheep's clothing, and then completely rejects what Jesus said. From what you have said, it looks like Mark may be our newcomer. The 5th division. We want to get all of the different divisions that human beings can respond to profound truth and rationality. It's no good just saying, that's the meaning of life for everyone. We have to also account for all of the ways human beings can react to that true statement. It's not a matter of just programming it into Grok, programming it into AI, because we're a mean between those extremes. Profound ignorance and brutality and barbarianism, and just completely becoming rational, loving understanding. So Mark is our newcomer. Oh, Mark's the newcomer. Mark is the 5th division. Since he denies what the denier... That highlighter is rubbish. Can you even read that? Make it. Sorry. Since Mark denies what the denier proclaims. So, Jesus has a teaching and a philosophy. Paul rejects it completely and decides to start churches based on him and puts himself at the top and says the world's going to end in his lifetime and all that stuff about Eucharist and baptism and all that horseshit. So Mark denies Jesus. Sorry. That again. Paul denies Jesus. Mark denies what Paul did denying Jesus. Curious it is, and interesting. Well, I agree that it does make him a member of a new division, the 5th. True it is, and we can call Mark the slayer of the falsifier and denier Paul. Wow. So modern Christians are Pauline. Mark is the slayer of Paulinism. What's Paulinism? The falsifier and denier. That's Paul. Mark is the slayer of the falsifier and denier, Paul. Wow. Mark is the slayer of the falsifier and denier, Paul. Here comes the chorus. They don't like anything that's good and understandable. Here they say, "What just happened? This is absurd." Excuse me. Against a revealed truth, a mere argument has no weight. Those who believe can't be shaken by this logic chopping argument. Collective belief has power, and this little argument has no effect on the enormity of what Paul declared. Paul declared that the utmost significance of Jesus' resurrection is what Christianity is all about. Paul merely toasted it to the heavens and gave us a way to free our souls of suffering in sin. The past suffering over one's sins is past. The sinner is forgiven of his trespasses and by being judged by his faith. And you no longer have to suffer guilt, since you have been justified by your faith as well. So that phony argument you just heard has no force. It's like trying to topple Mount Everest with the push of your hand. What you do here is a crazy myth wrapped in an absurdity. You can't love God as you would a woman. No, they have to be kept in their place. Those nasty women's. And conform to the law. You don't have to believe, just look at what you get for believing. No one ever taught you to believe. Take a look. Sure thing, they don't have to believe it, but you have to know one thing. Listen to this for a truth. Whatever a believer believes is true to them to whom it seems so. Who can say something is not believable to him whom it seems so? Who can say what is sin and suffering? You can only experience it, that's all. Another absurdity is looking for faults in Mark's gospel because you either accept Jesus' account of his miracles or you are left out and can't believe in the miraculous, and that means you are dead to fate. We've heard this before in that other book we're reading. Everything, whatever a believer believes to be true, is true for whomever it seems so. Positive thinking. If you believe in Jeebus, it's true to you. If you believe the world will end tomorrow, it's true for you. If you believe you should genocide children in Palestine, it's truth. It's no less true than any other morality. Says a certain kind of person. The chorus. You can't understand problems. Just suffer as a sinner, and then magically it all goes away because we killed Jesus. And that's it. Who are you to think with your understanding brain? Just believe whatever and it's true. That's all. Surely nothing bad comes from people who believe terrible, terrible, terrible things. Who cares if Paul made it up? Who cares if there's no resurrection? Who cares? Just believe it anyway, right? What does the anti-chorus have to say to that? Are you afraid to ask if this argument is true? Who else has seen it? Do you allow yourself to wonder just what effects this kind of reasoning has on the systems you have who have claimed otherwise? That have claimed otherwise? Are you worried that other arguments are yet to come? State what is said, that the model of the dialectic is in force. Does going this way shake what you have taken to be true? Go ahead and say it. Does believing make it true? Why not leave now before you hear more? How come you are staying to hear more? Is your anger burning more furiously when you hear what you can't believe?
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only was wrong, lied to him, and that he fell for it. All of that takes so much courage and character.
Huh. Do you allow yourself to wonder just what effects this kind of reasoning what effects this kind of reasoning has on the systems that have claimed otherwise? You afraid, bro? You a bit butthurt, bro? The model of the dialectic is in force. Does going this way shake what you have taken to be true? Go ahead and say it. Does believing make it true? Oh, what's that noise mean? Oh, someone's messaging me on Discord. Is your anger burning more furiously when you hear what you can't believe? Ooh. Socrates. Could you fill me in on the background of your exploration? Because all I have heard is that Mark has been said to be the earliest, followed by Matthew, Luke, and John. Sure thing, says Jesus. You see that Mark supplies the narrative structure for the other gospel writers. It is obvious that both Matthew and Luke copied heavily from Mark, but John covers several points that are found in Paul's doctrine. You know that guy who used to enjoy stoning people to death? What is interesting is that you can't find Paul in Mark. Rather, Mark rejects each claim put forward by Paul, and also adds a rejection of the tradition of Moses and Elijah. Interesting that what was not a part became a part. Now, as you did with Paul, are you going to do the same with Mark? Let me use your mode of reasoning, Socrates, and put forth what is there to be seen. To do that, let us first look at the inherent problems that Mark outlines in his gospel. You see, Socrates, he describes my journey so beautifully that unless one sees the points he is making, it is entirely possible to get caught up in the beauty and ignore his meaning. Oh, we don't want to do that. Love guided by reasoning, and then reasoning added to your beloved. Love and reasoning. Don't just get caught up in the beauty and ignore meaning. Doing so will make it much easier to see Paul's view of God and man's relation to God as something that is simply ignored in Mark. So Mark's that fifth category, the denier of the denier. So we've got number one category, a new truth, a new way of being, rational way of being is introduced, and someone accepts it and rejects the old. That's the best. Number two, completely reject the new to hold fiercely to the old. Number three, claim to be taking on the new, but really just be substituting the old in, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Number four, take some of the that's Paul, I suppose. 4, take a little bit of the rational and use it as a patch to patch up some of the problems in your beliefs. And number 5, Mark. Those wolves in sheep's clothing or the other one who denies the new, denial of them. Building a list of the way people respond to truth. So, Paul's view is ignored in Mark. Interesting way you have of going. A 2-leveled exploration will bring the house down.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Okay. Maybe that's a good time to call it. How far are we through? 1.5? The time. All right, so we're going on to a new activity. We've gone through a new understanding of love. The way that you approach your beloved person itself can develop and be itself a development through the stages of human development, through the cognitive functions to reach our highest excellence. Love and understanding together. Your relationship can be a mirror and a journey through the highest possible human activity, reaching our highest flourishing. The highest experience being the experience of truth, reality, or beauty itself, from which the highest excellence derives after. Because at every stage of beauty, there is the logos, understanding added to it. Reflected in the stages of cognitive development from openness, curiosity, which also is the sort of person you better be attracted to. Someone who is open, generous, and dedicated to the pursuit of philosophy. Find a girl like that. Or a guy. Cultivate that relationship through talks about excellence, about what it means to be a good person. Which is adding the logos to the, so loving someone with a beautiful soul. The addition of the logos would be making, sharing beautiful words that can improve the soul of both people. As together you follow that path of understanding through the levels of beauty, bodies, souls, customs, and knowledge, preparing the soul for the final beauty, vision of beauty itself. The crowning experience of the philosopher, reality as truth, which is brought into being by love and perfected by logos or understanding. Make sure you're not overwhelmed by your desire for instant gratification, which is powerful in people. Your desire for the beloved has to also include a need to preserve and cultivate a meaningful relationship. The courtship must be gentle, sincere, and include an understanding of your beloved. It's difficulty because we have that desire for nobility and fairness, as well as that emotional desire that wants instant gratification within our soul. Reason has to control nobility and fairness and subdue the emotional drive for instant pleasure. Thus, the way to the divine is the way the passionate lover must learn to cultivate and gain the beloved. Profound and true. To loving one's beloved, one learns the way to the divine. Isn't that neat? Learning to love your beloved is the way one learns the way to the divine. Bringing to birth a mystery of the extremes, we can reach the divine, but we can also be lacking. And to discover the meaning of being man, a human, between those extremes. Finding the harmony in a world of extremes is the very goal in our intelligible cosmos. Whatever the heck that means. The goal in our intelligible cosmos is to be harmonized between those extremes, or harmonize all of it together, making Plato's idea of love and logos far excelling Paul. Paul very, very bad, but Mark is the fifth division, denying the denier Paul. The slayer of the falsifier of Paul. Slayer of the falsifier and denier of Jesus. So Paul falsified and denied Jesus' teachings. Those 15 tenets that we take as modern Christianity is Paul. And Mark, the Gospel of Mark, slays the falsifier and denier of Jesus, Paul. The chorus doesn't like that. They just want to, they are, of course, afraid of mind, afraid of understanding. They want to stay in their suffering and ignorance, and they don't want to talk about the fact that the whole resurrection thing was not there and was added, and Paul was a terrible person doing terrible things, and they want to say, hey, just whatever you believe is just as true as anything else, so shut up, which is a stupid thing to say, but very common in our time. And the anti-chorus says, hey, is what this absurdity that you're trying to defend, oh, whatever you believe is true to whom it seems true. Is that really a fear? Why don't you allow yourself to wonder what the effects this kind of reasoning has on the systems that you've grown up with? This is a dialectic, pal. Does it shake what you've taken to be true? Does really believing anything make it true? If I believe this was a banana, is it true? So, super important to recognize what modern Christianity is. The falsifier and denier of Jesus, Paul. Very important to realize that Mark is trying to do his best to deny that crap, but also emphasize the role in understanding God, loving God through understanding, and understanding all people to be the oneself. But even better than that is, of course, Plato. Giving a more fleshed out understanding of love with understanding together as the very reason we're here. To progress through the stages of love, improved, reached through understanding, perceived through love, of beauty at different levels, and then perfected with more understanding on top, culminating in the highest possible vision of reality, from which logos is applied to create true excellence. That movement also represents the movement through the cognitive functions from ignorance to right opinion, understanding, and wisdom. And that progression is mirrored in the development of a loving relationship with the person that you fall in love with. Together, seeing higher and higher levels of beauty in each other, improving each other as souls through the love of understanding, to ultimately, I guess, together reach the highest experiences of reality and go beyond. To go beyond even reality and truth. Because that experience of reality truth is the ground, the base from which true excellence is developed. To go beyond. Therefore, love and understanding, the meaning of life. By the way, I told a story last time about being able to get to California and to be sitting in the back row of one of Pierre Grimes' philosophy classes, and how much of a trip that was, knowing just what a fantastic gift to humanity Pierre Grimes is, rediscovering Socrates after the Dark Ages. So allowing us to bring to birth a new way of being that can turn humanity around, allow us to solve problems and reach our excellence. Now we've defined what that excellence is. And I remember him writing The Meaning of Life while studying the symposium. And being in awe that everybody's heads weren't exploding. No one seemed to notice, no one seemed to care. And no one seemed to be paying much attention, and those who did notice didn't register in any way, which blew my freaking mind. I had to explain, do you know how hard it was for me to get here, and how lucky you are that, hey, the meaning of life, don't you want to know what the meaning of life is? Not really. Crazy. Well, now we have it. That. The development of love and understanding together. To reach enlightenment and go beyond. Which is itself a movement from belief-based thinking, believing some other jabroni, to seeing it for yourself. From belief to understanding. From caveman to sages. From savages to the divine. From the mortal to the immortal. The meaning of life. That we are developing a paradigm for in this reading, but also cultivating as a way of being, which of course we can cultivate in our loving relationships. But that's not enough, because we have to also nail down all of the different reactions to that. Just as Jesus had Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Paul all doing completely different things. Socrates had Plato and Aristotle, and that other guy, I forget his name, was it Gorgias? None of them seeming to get it right. Therefore, just knowing the meaning of life is only half the battle. We also have to understand our reactions to it, and understand them within a paradigm, and maybe even recognize within that paradigm hierarchical structure of human development that we can help people go through. So if you're at one level and it's a bad level like Paul, you don't just stay there. We can reflect on it in a certain way that finds, hey, why are you not accepting the truth? Why are you pretending to speak more for God than Jesus and denying everything? Why are you so fiercely loyal to your false beliefs that harm you and the world? So we can recognize it as stages of development that people can go through. Is that a loving thing to do to people? Help them move through their evolution from belief-based savagery to understanding-based excellence? Not through blame or shame or guilt or genocide or torture or prisons or starvation or wealth inequality, just by friendly, systematic reflection, through understanding, through the dialectical paradigm or model on the cause of their problems, for them to see it for themselves. that a loving thing to do? Would that benefit souls? Would they have to be open and genuine and seeking truth to begin with? Like the way Socrates says, the sort of person you better be looking for to fall in love with. Otherwise, how can you go through this journey with your beloved unless they are open? What was it? Open, genuine, open, generous, and dedicated to the pursuit of understanding. Otherwise, how are you going to get into how are you going to develop through that loving relationship the pathway to your purpose? What an interesting way of being this love of understanding, or Philodionoia, is. I wonder where the book's going to go next time. I'm excited. I'm very curious. I hope you are. Thank you for joining me. Feel free to like, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch, join the Discord. You get a notification when we go live. You can find a link to the text for free below, and you can donate to the channel with the link below. Thank you for joining me, and I see you. I will see you in the next one.